I never thought I'd be doing a story like this. Paul Mescal rejects being masculine, at least not in films, and he absolutely succeeds. You know, you probably watched Gladiator II, and if you didn't, you saved yourself time and money. But now, of course, when I talk about masculinity, I have to bring on one of my favorite guests, and probably one of yours too by now. It is Kevin Apollo. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
My brother, what in the soy frappe latte is going on right now? what is this soy boy ranting about?
I don't know, but the soy frappe latte, I don't know, dude. I mean, it doesn't get more soy milk induced anything than what this guy is, or where this guy is coming from. And I'm gonna all the heavy lifting here. It doesn't have to be done by you and I, although you look like you could probably do some heavy lifting. But it's from our pal Marvin Montanaro, who does the heavy lifting and actually wrote a story about this that I couldn't believe. I couldn't believe it, Kevin. Paul Mescal brags that Hollywood is moving away from the traditional alpha male characters that once defined it, and I roundly reject this premise. But maybe he speaks some truth. What do you think?
I don't think so. This is my... No, that was Al. That's about to be Wilson. That was Al. I don't think so, Tim. Yeah.
That's actually, yeah, look, at this year's Cannes Festival, right, Gladiator II Actor, which was a terrible movie, and it cost too much, and it made no money, lost money, actually. Paul Mescal might have given the most unintentionally revealing quote of the week when commenting on Hollywood and the alpha male characters that once defined it, while promoting The History of Sound, which, by the way, is about a same-sex romance back in 1918, just in case you were wondering, and nobody's going to see it because it is very independent. Period romance between two men, they went on to say this here, in which Mescal stars alongside Josh O'Connor. The Irish actor confidently proclaimed that cinema is moving away from the traditional alpha leading male characters. He's telling us that he gave away the game, Kevin. He did. He's like, hey, all these studios want us to be super fembots. And I'm like, all right, bro. Look, you know what? It's not like we didn't see it.
Yeah, I have no problem not spending $300 to go to the movies. So it's okay. I'll just go to my Amazon Prime and I'll pull up awful Dolph Lundgren movie of the week and sit there blissfully while I watch him mumble through his lines and things explode all around him and go, he's more of a scientist than Bill Nye ever could be. And no lies will be told. I don't mind this. I don't mind this.
What it really means to me is there's no room for the blockbuster anymore.
Oh.
Because these little soy boys running around on screen aren't capable of playing men, and they don't even believe that they're men. This is the other problem, right? And then they're okay with being feminized and centering women in everything, which again, if it is supposed to be centered on female energy, so be it. But every film is not that, and if you continue to make it about that, you're not going to be making movies much longer. Mescal's remarks came during a press conference for that History of Sound film, and again, that's based in 1919. It follows two men. It's based on some kind of a true story, I guess, discovering a romantic bond as they travel about doing folk music. The film has been dubbed by some as a spiritual successor to Brokeback Mountain, which I think some people took some umbrage at. But in fact, Mescal himself said he dismissed that as lazy and frustrating, though he did admit, almost comically, that the only real similarity that they spent a little time in a tent. I'm sure you did. I personally don't see the parallels at all, said Mescal in laughter. But it is dealing with the idea of repression, the film Brokeback Mountain. I find those comparatives relatively lazy and frustrating. Our film is a celebration between these men's love, not the repression of their sexuality, which, by the way, in 1918, this would have been even harsher than the reception from Brokeback Mountain. So I'm not buying this at all, nor do I care nor am I going to see this film. Kevin, are you going to go see that film?
No, I actually already forgot what it was called.
Okay. History of Sound.
Ugh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I gotta write that down so that if it comes across my plate, I remember, do not watch this.
Do not watch. Okay, fair enough. All right, so Mescal spent part of his press conference fondly recounting how he and O'Connor bonded by eating 8 Jolly Ranchers a day during filming. Kevin?
Remember, remember all those years ago? The cool Arnold Schwarzenegger, he did a behind the scenes video. He's like, I smoke cigars because I'm BA. Or Stallone talking about how, he was eating steaks and doing 500 push-ups. I don't want to hear two soy boys talk about eating Jolly Ranchers like they're 12-year-old girls talking about their crushes. This doesn't speak to me. I don't know who this is talking to. And I know plenty of gay fellas who are like, yeah, we don't have time for this either, though. It's like it's so like I don't know who is this for? Who is this mystical modern audience that doesn't want to see men being men? Because the average storyteller, like, listen, masculinity sells. Masculinity is essential. If it wasn't for masculinity, we'd all be speaking a different language right now, probably German. If it wasn't for masculinity, we wouldn't have buildings. We wouldn't have internet. We wouldn't have the bloody computers that we're sitting on. If it wasn't for masculinity, we probably would be still hiding hiding in caves, running away from bears. Like, you need masculinity. So this bizarre neo-Marxist, postmodern feminist gobbledygook about how no one wants men around. We know what they are. We know they are your broken voodoo doll out to do your bidding.
You know what? That says an awful lot, and you did right there a whole awful lot. But, to be fair, there is room for vulnerability, complexity, non-traditional portrayals of male characters, and there have been throughout the history of cinema. But when actors begin cheerleading the displacement of the classic masculine archetype altogether, as you illustrated in that lovely monologue just a second ago, that's not evolution, that's eradication. And it will lead to complete destruction of an art form that has existed for over 100 years at this point. Mescal isn't merely arguing for diversity of stories. He's framing the alpha male, and just regular men, to be fair, the rugged, dependable, protective archetype, as obsolete. I can tell you right now, weak men make for hard times, and we have had a just absolute plethora of weak men of late. This guy is one of the weakest, and I look forward to nothing that he is in at this point, because he, first of all, has not entertained me on screen as of yet, and neither has his pal here, Pedro Pascal. This is the absolute wrong direction for them to be going right now. Their thought processes and their art representations of life have been so at odds with what we voted for specifically in this country, and which the younger generation is going harder and harder towards right now. There will be some kind of a come to the moment for Hollywood, and I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. I don't think we want, as you suggested, the soy infusion that we've been having to undergo over the course of the last, I would say, 8 years, 12 years, depends on where you want to count from.
Yeah.
Maybe Ghostbusters 2016, 2015, whatever that was. I think that may have been the actual starting point for most people to start noticing, but I think it happened well before that, back in 2008, perhaps even.
Yeah, look, I agree. Yeah, Ghostbusters, that was the coming out party.
Quite literally, actually, which is funny. That was by a different Paul guy, Paul Feig, who led us down the wrong path. Not Feige, not Kevin. Oh no, it's Kevin Feig, not Paul Feig. Kevin Feig.
Paul Feig, Kevin Feige. Same difference at this point.
It doesn't matter. But I know this. one of the worst representations of this in modern cinema is something that Marvin picked up here. Indiana Jones. There was no more alpha male. There was no more leadership. It was handed over to Phoebe Waller-Bridge, which means the film, well, it collapsed and is probably one of the biggest flops for Disney of all time. You didn't have that so much in Wolverine or Top Gun, and most recently. But look, Paul Mescal may think he's part of a cinematic revolution against alpha male characters, according to Marvin, but to many moviegoers, it feels like an erasure, and it feels like something they just aren't going to go see anymore. So, Kevin, I'm going to give you the final word on this. Do we need the removal of masculinity in Hollywood, or do we need them to pump up the volume?
Oh my goodness, we need them to pump up the volume. But I think the box office tells you everything you need to know. And listen, I Terminator Dirt Fate is a prime example of this, right? They massacred John Connor unceremoniously in the opening seconds of this movie, and they proceeded to tell us a really boring tale that was anti-motherhood. When all we wanted and have been asking for decades is the story about the strong stoic man who's a leader. And alpha male, you don't have to be some fire-breathing, jacked up super demon. Alpha male is dad, is grandpa. Any old dude who has rough hands when they go to shake your hands. Someone who gets up and goes to work every day to do right by their family. Who make sure that as a kid you learn the important moral lessons, that you have an ethical foundation, that you know right from wrong. Someone tells you it's okay to get beat up by the bully because bullies are cowardly and they'll never mess with you again. Those are the lessons, the life lessons. That's what people want to see. This is why The Last of Us 1 worked, and why The Last of Us 2 tanked. Even though Pedro was in it, the people want to see male leads lead. Hollywood is anti-male, has been for a long time. The world is not, and I will be darned if I'm going to be lectured by a man who makes Macron look like Rambo. I don't want to hear it. So he can take his nonsense, put it in his purse, and go watch Tu Wong Fu. I'm going to be over here watching Commando.
Hey, that sounds great to me. And you know what? Don't down talk Macron. He took a left from his wife today that I don't think a lot of soy boys could handle. So. So congratulations to him on, taking one from his wife. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you guys need to go check out social media whenever you're watching this. Anyway, let me wrap this up by saying we need your input. What do you think? Do you think we need more female-centered films out there and a complete reduction or elimination of masculinity? Do you think soy-infused humans like Mr. Paul Mescal are going to be the wave of the future? Or are we going to finally shed this terrible trend here in the very near future? Or do you think the studios are just basically shooting themselves in the foot once again and putting themselves even more at odds with the audiences that they really do depend on, whether they like it or not? Again, let us know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And check out this man over on X. He's a good follow. He's a funny follow. And when he has his YouTube channel, you better subscribe there as well. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others. And until next time, see ya! But not at a Paul Mescal movie. Man.